Davao. And mayroong hapon. Thank you for the very kind introduction. I was in Cebu maybe 2 weeks ago. There was also a very kind introduction. Baka maniwala na ako. No? Anyway, thank you for inviting me to again grace the Tourism Congress meeting in Davao. And before I dwell on the topic of how to connect with and out to the world, may I just be allowed to give you a short background on the course of the development of the global aviation industry and the Philippine aviation industry. The airline industry is said to be the blood circulatory system of the world. It is the lifeline of all countries, and because it allows the exchange of people, transportation of goods, deployment of workers, and in this time and age, it is difficult to imagine a world without air transportation, especially in an archipelagic country like the Philippines. No? So we experienced it during COVID. It was a partial lockdown, but there was an uptick in cargo, but still a lot of countries suffered, jobs were lost, businesses were closed. Can you imagine if there's a total cessation of the airline services? No? So, but years ago, in the 70s, until the 70s, governments all over the world considered airlines as strictly public utilities. No? And as public utilities, they felt the need to strictly regulate the industry. Entry into the industry is regulated. They give the incumbent of a route a monopoly, and then the fares are dictated also by government. And the reason for this is to attain stability and continuity in the services. No? But in 1978 and then in the 80s, the United States regulated their airline industry. The Europeans followed in the 80s, and they realized that the aviation industry is basically a market-driven and competitive industry that should not be regarded as a strict public utility and should be driven by competition. Because in the age of strict regulation, if you factor in the rate of inflation, we will realize that the fares, the average fares today are lower than the fares 30 years ago. And 30 years ago, there were much fewer routes, much fewer passengers. No? So the result of strict regulation was the industry became stagnant, and the services, the value for money is questionable. No? But now, the aviation industry has become democratized. More and more people can travel. It used to be, air travel used to be for the elite, but now, ordinary people like us, like me, I can travel. Even our maids can travel by air now. No? But of course, there is a downside to it, but I will not discuss it today. So, upon the deregulation of the aviation industry, competition, there was stiff competition, a lot of airlines entered the market, and the fares were deregulated, and it ushered in phenomenal growth in the aviation industry. And we were swept by that tide of deregulation. Sometime in 1995, President Ramos issued Executive Order 219, that also adopted liberalization in the Philippines. It was not an overnight transformation. It took some time for things to settle, but now we have a very robust aviation industry. 2019, we had about 60 plus million passengers. And 10 years before that, 2009, we only had about 27 million. So we were one of the fastest growing aviation markets in the world. Even the global record in 2019 was about 4.5 billion passengers. 10 years before that, 2.45 billion. So that's about an 80% increase, no? So we are now enjoying the fruits of that liberalized regime. And now the question is, how do we connect Mindanao to the world? No? This is a process that has been ongoing for quite a time. And I will try to dissect the problem. I think the main problem is the fact that there's an over-concentration of traffic and services in Manila. And the reason for this is the fact that airlines, the natural tendency of airlines is to gravitate to the main gateways of a country. No? And for understandable reasons, because the main gateway of a country has a big catchment, there's a high density of the population, and therefore the commercial viability of services are quite assured. No? On the other hand, airports outside of the main gateways like Davao and even Cebu, Clark, they are developmental airports. When you say developmental airports, an airline would need to devote resources and time in order to develop the airport before it becomes commercially viable, if at all. No? So that is one of the main problems. And so, how do we deal with that? Then I think the solution is comprised of some components. That these components should converge, no? So there should be convergence among the components so that it will work. Of course, number one would be the infrastructure, airports, because if airlines want to fly to a destination but there are no good airports there, there will be no services. If passengers want to go there but there are no airports, so number one, we're building airports. And thanks to President Duterte, thanks to President Marcos, they fast-tracked the development of our airports, and we have to admit that the style of governance in the Philippines is not conducive to a timely implementation of programs, but because of our system, a lot of contentious procedures in the Philippines, but now we are fast-tracking the development of the airports. No? So it's not only the infrastructure, the airport can be there, but still there are no services, no passengers, because you have to sell the airport. You have to attract, give the passengers a good travel experience. No? So another factor would be the government policies. And the proper government policies in place, it's called open skies. So, Executive Order 219 declared the regulation of aviation in the Philippines. So, there's open skies in the Philippines, but there is restricted traffic rights in Manila, and the reason for that, we want to drive the airlines to the secondary gateways. Because there's an over-concentration of traffic, in Manila, the economic activity could not spill over to the other economic centers like Davao and the Visayas. No? And what we need would be air connectivity to connect Mindanao, Visayas to the world. No, so that is what we try to do. So open skies in Davao, open skies in Cebu, and somehow it already has reaped positive benefits. Because for all you know, Scoot Airlines, Tiger Air of Singapore, and Air Asia Berhad, they operated to Scoot in Davao, Tiger Air in Clark, and Air Asia I think in Cebu. They were instrumental in growing the market in these secondary gateways through open skies, because I do not know if I mentioned earlier, before our airline can go to Japan, for example, and before the Japanese airlines can come to us, there has to be an agreement. It is a sovereign agreement, a government-to-government agreement that defines the limits of the flights that can be flown. So, what we did is we adopted a unilateral open skies. So, foreign airlines can fly to Davao even over and above the limit of the agreement. You know? So, Scoot stayed here, Tiger Air closed down, but it ushered in the development of Clark and other gateways. No? So that is one policy. And another policy that I want to share with you is the negotiating strategy of the Philippines. No? So because of the over-concentration in Manila, our negotiating policy, last 3 weeks ago, I was in Cebu. We held the air negotiations with the UAE. Also in February of this year, we had air talks with Turkey in Istanbul. And years ago, we had air talks with Qatar. And all of them, mind you, all of these three airlines are maybe the top five, in the top five of the biggest international airlines in the world. And they're called the super connectors. They connect you to hundreds of destinations. No? So we forced the issue on these airlines. We told their countries, kasi you negotiate with the country, not the airlines. We told them, we cannot give you Manila anymore. Manila is bursting in the seams. If you want Manila, we give you Manila on condition that you will have a corresponding operation in Davao, any airport outside of Manila. And so there's Qatar Airways here. We practically twisted the arm of Qatar Airways. And 3 weeks ago, we told the UAE, we are not going to give you additional flights in Manila unless you condition it on a concurrent service in another gateway. You know? So there's a possibility that even the Emirates Air can come here. And then Turkish Airlines last February, we gave them additional 7 in Manila on condition that they will operate 7 also outside of Manila. So watch out, maybe Turkish Airlines will be here. So this is the things that we're doing to connect Mindanao to the world. You know? So thank you very much. The first time that I was clapped by talking. Thank you. Anyway, nakalimutan ko dyan. Business sabi natin. Turkish Airlines. So we forced the issue of them, policy. So what else? Incentives. Now we need to give incentives. The CAAP and even the CAB, we reduced charter fees for airports outside Manila. The CAAP and even the airport authorities, they reduced the landing charges, the parking charges, and even the concession charges, rentals. So these are, and of course, a showcase airport is also an incentive. When we opened up the new Mactan airport, a lot of airlines wanted to fly there, a lot of passengers wanted to chill there, because, it is a pleasant experience. So, another thing is probably, if I can, maybe not naman, maybe this is sensitive, no, but I will say it anyway. I think we need to do some work about image building, promotion in general, no? Promotion. Because the template that we're adopting is the template of Mactan Cebu. It is privately operated, and you know what? When they operated the airline, GMR of India now partnered with the Boitis, the airport blossomed. No? Because us bureaucrats, we are not good at operating facilities. No? We are good at regulating, but if you allow the private entities to manage and operate, they think out of the box, they innovate, they use cutting-edge technology, they sell the airport. The team of Mactan Cebu, they would go to other countries, sell the airport. I think they even have this kiosk for, universal kiosk for check-in, for immigration. So they use cutting-edge technology. And that's the beauty of, I will go into privatization a little later. There is an emerging airport management industry in the world, and that's beautiful, no? Because, Mactan Cebu is operated by a private company that is an expert in airport operation, no? So, Mactan Cebu is flourishing, no? And so the thrust of the DOTR and the President and the economic managers is towards privatizing the airports. No? When we say privatizing, what comes to mind is ownership by the private sector, but that's not necessarily so, because the mode of privatization that we have here is private participation. We call it public-private partnership, and because what is the rationale behind this public-private partnership? Number one is the Philippines and most countries actually are financially constrained, and so the governments have resorted to private resources to build airports. So two birds in one shot. You get an airport, and if that airport is profitable, you also generate revenues. So the template I said is Mactan Cebu. It is doing well, and siguro a month ago, the Secretary of Transportation, together with the Undersecretary, went on a lagi ko nakakalimutan yung term na yun, roadshow to promote the airports in the Philippines, to attract proponents to invest and build and expand and upgrade the airport and to manage and operate the airports. And I'm happy to tell you, maybe most of you know about it already, that Laguindingan Airport is the first regional airport to be approved by the NEDA in July 19 of this year to be part of the public-private partnership program. And so the DOTRs now selling big documents. They're interested entities that want to build, expand, and operate and manage the airport. So things are falling into place, although maybe slowly but surely, but we will get there. And I'm sure that with the help of the Tourism Congress of the Philippines, I now realize how active they are, how dedicated they are, how nationalistic they are. We will not fail. So I think I've been speaking very long. Thank you very much and good afternoon.
Thank you, Attorney Asila. Please could you return the stage to receive the coveted certificate of appreciation of the TCP. Thank you. Okay, next I'll call on TCP trustee Ms. Marianne Monten.